For those who don't know me, my name is Brianna Régine. I am the founder of Brianna Régine Visionary Consulting. We are a strategic communications and marketing agency that helps to increase the cohesiveness, infrastructure, engagement, and longevity of entertainment, lifestyle, and beauty brands. I'm going to be talking to you about the do's and don'ts to building effective customer relations. Customers make your business, right? Particularly if you have a product or a service, but even if you are a persona-based brand where you have some celebrity attached to you, customers or consumers, at the end of the day, you're finding ways to communicate with them and to have them advocate for your brand on your behalf, right? So it's important that you have relationships there. I am not going to go too much in depth in terms of what categorizes as a do, because I would like to think that that is common sense. It's really more so the don'ts, right? So I'll phrase some don'ts for you, and then you can reverse them and apply the do's. The first thing that comes to mind when it comes to building customer relationships is being accountable and having a sense of self-awareness and being intentional. So let me break those three things down because they all relate to each other, but how they come into play depends on where you are in terms of the line of communication, right? So in terms of the accountability standpoint, whatever you have visible digitally in terms of policy and how your business runs, you want to make sure that if you're called out on it, you acknowledge it, right? There have been times where, particularly on the content strategy side, where only 2 times this has happened, but where, for example, I have reposted something or posted something, have given someone credit for it, but the originator of the content still didn't want me to repurpose the content, despite giving them credit and, despite making it very clear that that's not my content. But in cases like that, or that might be like a case that's more minimal, but for larger cases, if you're a corporate company and you go on the borderline of having an incident that's maybe racial or stereotyping a particular identity, gender identity, things like that, where crisis management has to come to play, it's very important for you to just be accountable and be honest about your brand's role in the entire situation. I believe 2 things about this whole accountability part. One, you want to make sure that you properly assess the situation at hand. Not every situation is going to be the same, and therefore not every way that you address the situation will be the same. However, I do think that whenever you are presenting a moment of accountability, you want to make sure that that's in fact what you do. Like whenever you have the opportunity to do so, do it. Some companies, and we have seen in the past, I think it was it the Knicks or the Nets, something like that. I think something had occurred with Spike Lee entering through, the VIP talent entrance or not entering through that particular entrance. And there was a statement that was put out. I don't know the entire context of this story, so don't, take it as more like a broader example versus the specifics of the example. But basically, it caused this commotion on social media that generated some negative buzz towards the basketball team. And their response to it wasn't, in my opinion, it wasn't as professional as it should have been. But truthfully, there wasn't any element of the basketball team taking responsibility for the miscommunication or the flaw on their part, because based on what I have seen about the situation, it wasn't necessarily Spike Lee's fault. Instead, the company chose to respond and say that he didn't follow particular protocols. So basically, they continue to place the blame on him. So in situations like that, I feel, in terms of just protecting your brand's not only integrity, but just like we know reputation is a big thing. You want to make sure that you find the opportunity to take accountability and that it comes from a genuine place, right? You want to make sure that you can stand on whatever it is that you're taking ownership of and not doing the absolute most either, where it's like you your apology or your opportunity to take accountability isn't well received by your customers or consumers. So when it comes to accountability, please make sure that you are assessing the situation and that you are always finding the open area to say, hey, we messed up here. This is how we're going to fix it, right? And that's where the self-awareness comes into play. I'm a big advocate of self-awareness when it comes to personal development, but I have had that that I don't even know what to phrase personal development, but I have pushed that in the philosophy that I carry in my business, and also the philosophy that I encourage my clients to embody as well. So when you are self-aware as a person and your brand takes the extra step to be self-aware too, you will always come across as honest, or at least 99% of the time you will. And by that, I mean, like, if your brand comes from a place of being perfectly imperfect, as all humans are, then whenever you are caught in the fire, or whenever, you know, you are caught in a little, backlash, you will be in a better position to have existing consumers that are already advocating for your brand, that are already defending your brand, that are already speaking positively about your brand. So that way you don't have to talk as much, because the foundation of what you have built already stands by itself. So do the extra work to really figure out what is that foundation your brand stands on, right? What are the core values? What are the pillars? What are the non-negotiables that your brand will not move for, because it prioritizes this element of, hey, we know who we are, right? We know who we are, we know what we stand for, and we're not afraid to back that up. Okay, so that's accountability and that's self-awareness. And then the third thing is being intentional. When you are intentional, well, let me backtrack. Becoming self-aware allows you to be intentional, right? Think of it this way. Again, breaking it down between personal and professional, but also how these two things come together. If you are aware of who you are, if you are aware of what your brand is, what it stands for, then every move that you make will be driven by whatever that foundation is, okay? And having that clear understanding will also allow you to navigate the moments where things may be getting a little negative or they may be getting a little tight, but you'll be so comfortable in taking that accountability because you know where that piece of content came from. You'll know where that statement came from. You'll know the purpose behind the product that you're producing, behind the service that you're providing. So just be mindful of how you're moving in these streets, basically, especially on social media. We know how quickly a brand can either rise, or how quickly a brand can fall, or at least be categorized as canceled for a particular amount of time. So just be aware of what it is that you're doing, and know that even though it may seem like no one is seeing your stuff, like no one is becoming familiar with your brand, someone is, right? And whether that someone is present or whether that is someone that will come down the pipeline, you want to make sure that whatever you are constantly putting out, your customers, your consumers will be able to receive it, and it will rub them the right way, and it will encourage them to become loyal to you. Okay, so that's the accountability, self-awareness, intentional mindfulness model. That is definitely do's and don'ts. You can take that and parcel it as you want. The other thing that I will say is we all know the statement, the customer is always right. right? In my 3 years and some change of being a business owner, I have heard both sides of the spectrum when it comes to this. So yeah, the whole argument about the customer's always right. Generally speaking, I believe that to be true, just because, as I was saying before, if there's ever a situation where you can find an opportunity to say, hey, this is our bad, or partially take the blame off the customer, you should. Especially if you value that customer, especially if that customer, while it shouldn't matter, it does. If that customer has some influence of some kind, and, if you have to do some damage control, that's just the reality of situations. Sometimes you have to do that. But I think the underlying sentiment behind that statement, the customer is always right, is subjective to the amount of comfortability that you can feel depending on how you respond. So what I'm saying is, however you choose to respond to a negative customer situation, make sure that you can stand by it, not only them, but also years to come. And the reason why I say that is because, just like in life, you have to pick your battles, right? Is something really worth me going in for? Am I going to care about this a few years from now? Do I have other things that are on my plate right now? 9 times out of 10, you do. And I know for me, one thing that I'm actively working on is not emotionally responding when it comes to business, because I am an empathetic person. So I am very much in tune with my emotions, and sometimes that can show up in a response, right? So if you need to take a moment to take your emotions out of the situation and kind of think from a business mindset, cool. And there's a way to respond in a business manner while still having that level of empathy and human feeling behind the response. So my point to that is, just be, again, intentional. Be mindful of the battle that is present, and do your best to respond in a way that you can stand by if questioned. That's what I would say. In terms of like some customer dues, because I definitely don't want this to be just a like an implied dues based on my don'ts, is go the extra mile for the customers that show you love. I know at BRVC, we, for particularly our beauty client, Nature's Reese, she is our she's the first client that we've ever had. She's been with us for 3 or so years, however long we've been around. We've been around definitely for 3 years. We turned 3 on February 6th, so you guys can do the math. But because she's been around with us for so long, and she has spread the word about what it is that we do, she's gotten us leads in the past. We value her, right? And we show that we value her by, doing little professional, deals and bargains, but also just on a personal level too. I pride myself on my agency doing things from a compassionate and empathetic place. So for her, I've had the pleasure to learn more about her as I've worked with her. That has allowed me to to get to know her more. When it's her birthday, I know one year I bought her chocolates just to show that I appreciate her, and I tell her that I appreciate her when I'm thinking about her. So if you have clients that are like that are like your VIP clients, or clients that just make you enjoy doing what you do, tell them. And if it's not that one individual client, maybe It's people who have subscribed to your newsletter and they always respond to every poll or every call to action that you put in your newsletter. Give them something. Give them a free template. Give them a sample of your product. Give them, I don't know, tickets to your next show if you are like a persona-based brand. Just go the extra mile to let your customers know that they are appreciated, and that alone will work in your favor for years to come, because people will advocate for your brand without you having to do so much talking, without you having to deliver so much content, without you having to write so many press releases and get your story out there. It'll work. They'll work on your behalf, and that is the kind of relationships that you want to build with your customers. Those are the types of relationships that you want to strive for. In the same way your customers will go above and beyond for you, find ways to go above and beyond for them. That's really important. And again, that can show in a variety of different ways. It doesn't have to be necessarily on a one-on-one situation. It can be through freebies. It can be through discounts. It can be through, I don't know, if you have a podcast, people want to be heard. Like, that is the egotistical part of all humans, and anyone who says they don't is a lie. Like, everybody wants to have some sort of platform, or not even a platform, but just a place where they feel seen and they are able to articulate their story because they feel encouraged to tell their story. Write a blog post about the person. Have them write a blog post on your blog so that way you don't have to do anything. Have them come on your podcast episode. Have them come on your YouTube channel. Have them record a phone call with them. You know, like, there are fine little things to make your customers feel like they are appreciated. You should be mindful of how you are responding to certain things, both negative and positive, finding opportunities to take accountability if you are in the wrong. And that can be anything from like a situation that needs some major crisis management to something that's just listed on your website and your customer's like, wait, your website says this, and you're like, oop, it does say that. You know, like, don't shy away from admitting when you're wrong, because that just shows that your brand is human, especially if you have a product or service. People relate to brands that they feel like see them, that they feel like tell some part of their story, that they feel like empower them to become the person that they have yet to be. Show them that they are seen. Show your customers that they are valued. Find ways to engage with your customers and incorporate them into your next marketing campaign. Go the extra mile. You don't have to be a big corporate company to have a solid customer relations. If you have, let me tell you something. If you have 10 customers, follow me. What's the church say? Follow me. Listen, if you have 10 customers who always buy from you, right? That is better than someone who appears to have 100 followers and they only have one person that buys from them once a month. So cater to who you have. Keep going, keep grinding, don't stop. You got it, one day at a time. All right? Have a good one.